This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Joining me now, John Brummett, columnist with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Always good to get the week off to a start with him. John, thank you for being here.
Get the week off to a start. Not necessarily a good start, just get the week off to a start. I heard that.
I thought I said good start. Sorry about that.
Maybe I'm just being paranoid, but we're getting it off to a start anyway, and good to do that. Let's put it that way, which is the way you put it to start with.
All right. I'm thoroughly confused now, but
let's get into the news.
Roll through it. So,
yeah.
Okay. We saw last week a lawsuit was filed opposing the LEARNS Act. Allie Nolan, an attorney in Little Rock who sits on the Little Rock School Board, is filing this lawsuit on behalf of some Marvel Elaine parents, as well as a group seeking to overturn the LEARNS Act through referendum. I want to get to that a little bit later. Let's start with the lawsuit first. Her main claim is that the legislature did not follow the emergency clause vote properly. What do you think of that argument? Because I can see an interpretation both ways.
I can too. It's sort of like a biblical contradiction. You've got constitutional contradiction. The plain language is in the Constitution is that emergency clauses can be passed, but have to be passed separately. The legislative article plainly says the legislature sets its own rules of operation, and you know, which one of those do you prefer? But it's a good lawsuit. It's got people interested. I had a former chairman of the Joint Budget Committee send me a text that, we pass batches of budget bills with the assumption that they're going to take effect with the new fiscal year for which they're passed, but maybe that would be affected. Maybe. If so, he said this will be attended to one way or another in a timely way, because that's coming up, the 1st of July, end of June. It's interesting. It would delay the effectiveness, were she to prevail, of the LEARNS Act, and permit more time for the Marvel Elaine School District to complain about the charter school management group to which it's been assigned under this new provision of the LEARNS Act. I think in the long run, it doesn't amount to much. The policy is going to take effect at some point, but it's more than just a cute little technical timing argument. I mean, there could be, if the lawsuit were to prevail, it would have some effect on that issue in Marvel and Elaine, and it would have some effect on the time period allowed if the group wanting to refer the LEARNS Act can ever get past Tim Griffin. It would allow more time. So as I put it yesterday, it's somewhere between ticky-tack and blowing the lid off the state capitol, somewhere in there. And you never know when you get before Pulaski County judge what they're going to do.
Yeah, and this, I would think, whichever side prevails is probably going to go up to the state Supreme Court, because they're going to want to set some sort of precedent on this.
That precedent, they got to go up, I would think, and probably expedite it, depending on what the local court ruling is. So it could be a little flurry here for a short time of some interest.
Politically, there is a solution for the governor and her allies in the legislature. They could call a special session and they could do the separate vote and make this whole lawsuit moot in terms of that point. I don't know if they'll do that or not, but that could be something that if they decide they want to do that, would probably be a little embarrassing, a little scrape knee for them, but at the same time, it would accomplish the goal of what they're wanting to accomplish.
Well, you're saying, okay, it would, and that would be a special session, quick, one bill, one emergency clause to deal with this specific issue. You never really are certain how a judge might, the local judge might rule. It might have implications, how he might eventually rule, might have implications for other bills. Then you'd have to do that again, who were passed under the same circumstance. So it's not that's a fix for the central issue of Marvel and Lane and the effectiveness of LEARNS, but maybe not entirely. You gotta wait and see just what this judge rules.
All right, you mentioned too that there is a group trying to push for a referendum to overturn the LEARNS Act. They have been twice rejected by Attorney General Tim Griffin for their ballot title. I think he's approved their popular title, but not their legal title. So there's some hair splitting going on there. Let's talk about just that process. I'm going to give the Attorney General the benefit of a doubt that he's playing politics with this. Is this the best way for us to try to get things established on the ballot? We've gone back from the old way of doing it, which is where we are now, to we tried something different. It didn't work. We went back to the old way again.
Well, I'm of two minds on that, but basically, I have a hard time arguing that we ought to be lax and generous in our process for making laws. I just am. I know that the legislature, or the Republican legislature, is playing politics. They don't like the easy access to the ballot. They don't like some of the things that people are passing, and they are all about trying to make that harder. But by making it harder isn't necessarily a bad thing. There's nothing inherently wrong with the Attorney General saying, being a tough editor of what goes before the people. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, tactically, it puts more burden on those petitioning, and it may be unfair. If, in his second rejection, Tim Griffin said this thing is not long enough. This LEARNS Act is an omnibus bill. How are you going to represent it in your ballot title? You're erring on the side of brevity. So, okay, I see that. I see that. He ought to tell people more of what's in it. That seems okay to me. Now, if he comes back after this, after they oblige him and put everything in the ballot title and says it's too long, then we got something. Then you say, wait a minute, you're just playing games here. But so far, though the effect is to hamstring the petition process, make it harder, and though it's part of a conservative Republican tactic, why not get it right? Roby, we've sat here and talked about things being thrown off at the 11th hour and voters not getting to vote on things they were expecting to get to vote on because the Supreme Court found them lacking. So at this point, Tim Griffin can say, I'm just doing my job and doing it as well as I can, and I'm not prepared to make a big issue of it. Just make it longer, make it thorough, and see what he says then. That's the way it seems to me.
We'll watch. The group supporting this, they're called CAPES as their acronym. Right. They do say they're going back for a third time. So, yeah. All right. Lastly, former President Donald Trump found liable last week of sexual assault and defamation in the E. Jean Carroll case. That was early in the week. By midweek, he's doing a CNN town hall and does not seem to be too unfazed by the fact that he's going to have to pay this person $5 million and seem to really not have changed his behavior at all. If anything else, may have been encouraged by the findings of that jury.
Yeah, right. What do you want me to say about that?
Would you like a specific question about this? Are we?
Well, I mean, I can go several ways, but do you have a specific way you want me to go? Well, I mean, I've got a column for tomorrow. Let me just tell you this. That I think is the minority opinion, and I think that was a wonderful television event with Trump on CNN. I can explain that, or we can talk about his flippant reaction to a very serious matter before a jury. But
I would love to have
both.
I'd love to have a preview of your column of why you thought that was a magnificent television event. Then
the problem is not that CNN, by having this free-for-all that showcased Trump's madness and the ridiculousness of his cult, which was gathered in the audience. The problem wasn't that CNN showed it. The problem is that that situation exists in American politics. I thought this was, by modern definition, a fairly good journalistic event. Here is your political condition. Here it is unvarnished. If you don't like it, don't blame CNN, don't blame the messenger, don't blame the mirror or the light. Blame the condition that is shown in it. And people are saying, but why showcase this man? He's never going to get elected president again. What are you talking about? I agree, and he's not going to get the most votes nationwide. He's not going to. But that has nothing to do with electing the president. Electing the next president will be done by voter turnout and voter moods in suburban and exurban Phoenix, Atlanta, and maybe in a state like Wisconsin or Michigan. That's what's going to decide the next president. That's what decided the last one, not the 7 million vote margin for Biden. This man, Trump, I believe, to be a great menace to the country. And just like sometimes we don't like school shootings or funnel clouds, they're news. Same with Trump. I don't want to see him on TV all the time, but I thought, hey, we need a reminder of just what he's about, what he's saying. He wants the nation to default on its debt, risk global economic calamity, because it would help his election. He won't choose between Ukraine and Russia. He still says, as fervently as ever, the out and out lie that the election was stolen from him when we've demonstrated clearly that it wasn't. That's what we got. CNN presented us with a picture of that. We didn't like it. And it's telling that the Democrats rushed out to put out a news release saying, well, that happened. That's what the last email said. It's saying Trump, it's good that it said America can now see in greater focus the choice between that man you saw on television and the other man who is not that man you saw on television, which is how Joe Biden got elected before, and the fact that choice has been lost to voter disenchantment with the Democrats has caused Trump to go ahead, at least in one poll. So the Democratic operatives, liberals may be concerned about this show. Democratic operatives have said, that was good. That was good for us, because this is all about the choice between Biden and Trump. So I just told you too much of my column. Please read it anyway. But that's my take on it.
All right. He's John Brummett. He's columnist with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Catch him on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays.
That's very
Online
good.
and
You
on
got
your
it.
iPad. All right. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Obi. Bye-bye.